dear guests. First of all, welcome to Antalya. We are so excited to have you all here in Antalya, in Turkey. And thank you for attending to this panel in such a beautiful, nice, sunny day outside. Thank you for being with us. And welcome to our panel discussion on sustainable tourism experiences in terms of culture and nature. I'm honored and very excited to be the moderator of this panel, not only because I, as the product marketing director of TGA, but more as a nation licensed tour guide, a travel enthusiast who spent all her life traveling to all corners of Turkey, from the mountain villages to hundreds of ancient sites, to high plateaus, to coastal towns, either by boat, by bike, on a minivan, or sometimes just on foot. And as we all know, tourism is one of the world's largest industries, with millions of people traveling every year to explore new cultures, new experiences, different ways of life, and they immerse themselves in the beauty of nature and the culture they visit to. However, tourism can also have a significant impact on the environment and culture of the places that we visit. So it's therefore important to consider how we can create sustainable tourism experiences that promote environmental and cultural preservation, while also providing visitors with unique and authentic experiences. According to the academic definition, let's put that in the beginning, sustainable experience in tourism is defined as an experience that raises deep, meaningful emotions and memories that encourage tourist contribution toward destination sustainability. So it's not only what the experience lives with you, it's also what you live with the destination is quite important when we talk about sustainability in culture. GSTC, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, plays a crucial role in promoting sustainable tourism experiences around the world. And by setting these global standards, providing guidance and support, and offering certification programs, we can adapt the best practices. And as Turkey, as TGA, we are proud to be an important part of this project that we started and is announced earlier this morning. And now, by the end of the day, while we are talking about cultural and natural experiences, we will be exploring how sustainable tourism experiences can be developed intertwined with the culture and nature. How can we design tourism products that promote environmental sustainability and even conservation, while also providing visitors with unique and authentic experiences? Culture is actually a significant component of tourism product. People travel to different places to experience the culture, to witness the culture, and best and better to return with transformative experiences that they take also from the culture. So this when we discuss culture, we can refer to many different elements, including art and archaeology, architecture, including museums, galleries, historical buildings, monuments, even food and cuisine, which are the essential parts of the culture, and they attract significant number of tourists. And local ingredients, cooking techniques, and more importantly, the produce that come from the different parts of that culture. Festivals and celebrations are also important part of the culture, where people travel to be included in religious festivals, cultural celebrations, seasonal events. And music and dance. You don't only travel to spend your day exploring the archaeological site. When you are interacting with the culture, you can dance to the rhythm, you can view traditional performances and cultural shows. So we can think of many tangible and intangible aspects of culture as part of the tourism experiences. We would also like to discuss some new trends in sustainable travel that tour operators, especially, can take advantage of, such as slow travel, like Chitta Slow. We have mentioned earlier that Türkiye has a part of the Chitta Slow network with many of its towns and villages. We can also discuss regenerative travel as a future trend, which goes beyond sustainability to actively regenerate the natural and cultural resources that travelers are visiting. And we can also discuss conscious consumerism. So it is travelers, well, I should not say duty, but role, that every travel decision has an impact on the destination and culture, as well as the nature. And I think, and also an increasing trend, I hope personally, is digital detox. So when we travel, sometimes we also have the need to disconnect from technology and reconnect with nature, so we can interact with the culture. So I am hoping to discuss all of this and how our guests, esteemed guests and panelists have their experiences in these topics. Our panelists today have a wealth of experience and knowledge in the field of sustainable tourism, and they will be sharing their insights and perspectives on these important questions. I hope our discussion today will be thought-provoking and will inspire us all to think more deeply about how we can create a sustainable travel environment and sustainable tourism experiences that promote both cultural and natural aspects of a destination. So I would like to introduce you Ms. Arancia Garcia-Liz, Head of Sustainability of TUI Musement, TUI Group. She has a tremendous experience and quite remarkable effort in detail on adapting sustainable tourism practices. So, please.
Thank you. I should have, okay. So yes, thank you for the introduction, your panelists. Thank you everyone for being here and spending a little bit of time with us. When we were preparing the panel, we decided that we're going to give you some real examples with regards to what is to create a sustainable experience, because sometimes we talk a lot about the theory, but it's also interesting that you can see the practical side of it. So to start with, I did a little bit of theory. I want to explain to you how we have managed to start creating our portfolio of sustainable excursions at TUI. We have been working for 3 years together with the GSTC in adapting the criteria of the GSTC to the destination management world. And we have to create the system, which is certified by our partner Control Union, in which what we do is we start assessing our suppliers against the GSTC criteria, and then all the suppliers get a score out of the system. The suppliers that have enough percentage of the score, they're acceptable, which are 70% or more, they become a part of our pool of approved suppliers. The ones that don't reach the standard, we don't discard them. They continue to be our suppliers, but we work with them and we provide them with the guidelines and information about the GSTC criteria, specifically in the areas that maybe they didn't reach the score, so that they can implement some of those changes and go back to do the assessment and become one of our approved suppliers. So the next step for us is we internally, as a team, we create those experiences, putting together all the suppliers, and that process also goes through a system which has also been verified and certified by Control Union in the way that we make sure that we avoid things like overcrowding. We take into account the size of the places we visit, the amount of clients we take there. So all that part that is related to building the excursion itself. And there is when we end up having our portfolio of green and fair experiences, which is the label we have put to all of them. So this is the theoretical part. I needed to introduce it to you so that now you can see what it is this means in the real life. With this project, we had an original target for this year of 400 experiences to reach the green and fair label all across the world. We are very happy to see that all our suppliers were very engaged. So we smashed this target like a couple of months ago already. We put another target. We said, okay, let's say 600. We already smashed it. So now we have put another target for us by the end of this year to have 1,200 experiences certified through the process. And we're going to smash it. We're going to try to smash it also. So this is not always easy. So we also decided that we wanted to share with you a couple of challenges we've been facing through the process. One of the biggest challenges we faced is actually the language barriers. We need to be very respectful with the communities and the areas where we are operating, and we cannot just impose our language within, for instance, the criteria of the assessment. So we needed to translate every guideline, every assessment into the local languages of all the destinations where we are preparing the experiences, because we really need that the communication and the information is clear in the language and, of course, respectful to the people that is actually going to help us create those experiences. So this is something we realized during the process, and we had to work really fast to do all the translations. Another problem that we faced, and I think we all have the same problem, is the different understandings of sustainable, depending on the country, the destination, the person you talk to, or the supplier you're working with. So we needed to have a lot of stakeholder management, we call it. So talk to suppliers, talk to local governments, talk to everyone, try to align what we were meaning with sustainable and sustainable experiences. And also, okay, we always have the challenge to how we communicate with the local communities and inform them about the benefits that those experiences also bring to them. No, it's something that is a challenge also, I think, for all of us, but we needed to work on that, and we continue to work on that in the future. So one example. This is a real example. This is one of our TUI amusement green and fair and TUI collection experiences here in Turkey. We do a riverboat tour in Ceylan, in the Red River, and we also see fantastic turtles, river and sea turtles there. And it's real. It's in place, and just for you to see some of the criteria that is this excursion is meeting. We assess, as I showed you, the different areas. So we assess the transport. In the transport side, we are using 100% electric boat in the river, so that we don't disturb the biodiversity. No? And also, of course, we are using clean energies. And we also, the coach we use to go there has our criteria, so the coach also has to be, the coach company has to be also verified. We use local restaurants. We only serve local food and which must be typical for the region. Sometimes not only for the country, but also for the region. Of course, in this particular case, we use the culture, which is one of the topics of today. We visit the cultural sites, the ruins of the ancient kaunos, and the traditional mud baths. When we talk about biodiversity, what do we do with this excursion? We participate in the protection of the local turtle population, because we also support the turtle rescue center there. And with the electric boat, we make sure that there is no noise pollution, not only CO2, but noise, because the animals are very sensitive to that. And the water disturbance is minimal, because the type of the engine is better for the river than other more aggressive ones. Our guides provide information about the GSTC criteria and sustainability. It's part of their training. They need to be also trained and assessed. and they continuously speak about the culture, whatever the experience the client is having. The guide is very important for us in this area. And then we also include some charity in the specific experience as we support the Turtle Rescue Center. So the other topic that we wanted to discuss, and I only have 45 seconds, is how we then show this to our clients. So we have developed this label that I told you. We have an app, we have the website, and our reps in destination also, when they offer the excursions to our clients, they use this type of documents. We have identified everything with the Green and Fair label so that all our clients know that when they are going to book that experience, it means something. And then we, of course, when they click there, we have developed an explanation of what green and fair experiences mean, and with some information about the criteria and the requisites that the excursion is meeting. And I made it on time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to thank you specifically for protecting our turtles, and also all the efforts, and the mud baths are great experiences, and also they need to be protected because that mud is a natural asset there, and it's not forever. So thank you for all the efforts. And so now I would like to introduce Ms. Leyla Öner, the CEO of Tura Tourism, a DMC and an incoming tour operator for more than 45 years. Correct me if I'm wrong.
58 years.
Oh, okay. For providing services for foreign guests coming to Turkey.
Thank you very much, Ceylan. It's a privilege to be among all of you, and I'd like to personally thank to Ceylan for making this happen for me, and to GSTC, of course. I just want to use the time as efficient as possible, so I'd like to go a little bit deeper with the concept of culture and nature. So it's important to acknowledge that although tourism is founded upon culture, culture itself exists independently and for reasons other than tourism. And UNESCO describes culture as it should be regarded as the set of distinctive spiritual, material, intellectual, and emotional features of society, and that it encompasses, in addition to art and literature, lifestyles, ways of living together, value systems, traditions, and beliefs. The diversity is embodied in the uniqueness and in the plurality of the identities of groups and societies making up humankind. So cultural diversity is as necessary for humankind as biodiversity is for the nature. In this sense, culture is the common heritage of humanity and should be recognized and affirmed for the benefit of present and future generations. Culture, as Ceylan also mentioned, has two subtopics. They have the material and the immaterial part. Material part, as we all know, are the museums, the paintings, the buildings, the landscape, and other humanistic formations, and they act as the physical representation of the culture in that area. But culture also presents itself immaterially, creating more room for expansion on its effects on society. Specifically, creativity, respect, empathy, and other practices are being used to create social integration and to create a sense of self in the world. The sense of self, it's important. So cultural sustainability so far have been always under the category of social under the social pillar of the three pillars of sustainability. But I believe that cultural sustainability should be included as the fourth pillar, supporting sustainability in a holistic approach, because it examines ways to enhance our cultural identity and sense of place through heritage, shared spaces, public art, educational opportunities, and public policies in ways that actually promote environmental, economic, and social sustainability. In conclusion, sustainability efforts that were once characterized by environmental, social, and economic discussions now see the inclusion of culture in the discussions as a holistic benefit to the communities through the development of a sense of place. And the second concept we have is nature. I just want to, for a very small time, think what really nature is. Nature is actually a circle. It's a circle of every moment in our lives, like day turns into light, spring turns into summer, life becomes death becomes life, and we breathe in, we breathe out. So it's a circle, and it's interconnected. Nothing in nature is in isolation. And the third factor about nature is that it's fractal. A fractal is simply a pattern that repeats at multiple orders of magnitude. Think of a snail shell, or the brain cells, or the swirling hurricanes. They all are fractals. This also means that when you look at a snail shell, you're not only seeing the snail shell, you're actually seeing a fundamental pattern of nature that exists at multiple levels of reality. So, as far as sustainability of nature is concerned, the distance user's attitude of man relative to the environment as an object of use, which was the case until recently, must be reduced, and the instrumental attitude must be balanced by an attitude of valuation and association. So, talking about culture and nature, but do they really go hand in hand? I doubt it. The basic concept of culture as counter nature is even valid today. We can briefly think of a few examples, like nature is considered the counter concept of culture in the dichotomic world formula, or the theory and philosophy of culture are often based on the separation of nature and culture. A common concept implies culture is the transformation of nature by work. So culture is what makes us different from nature. All of these are even reflected in the sustainability debate, and the sustainability debate is also influenced by this separation. The ecological pillar is based on the natural sphere, while the economic and social pillars are rooted in the sphere of culture. So, where do we combine these two? The key link through between nature and culture, I think, lies in knowledge. Knowledge of nature, called traditional, indigenous, local, ecological, or primitive, is accumulated within a society and transferred through cultural modes of transmission, such as stories, narratives, and experiences. These cultural understandings of the environment not only give rise to sustainable management practices, but also to knowledge of species requirements, ecosystem dynamics, sustainable harvesting, or ecological interactions. So this culturally ingrained knowledge enables us to live within the constraints of the environment in the long term. So, looking at the time, I'm just going to go to my next topic, which is how do we get there? How do we become eco-culturally sustainable, and how do we still manage to keep being competitive? That's a very big challenge, right? Involving local communities and other stakeholders in the decision-making process, as Arantxa mentioned, is key to ensuring results benefiting cultural and natural heritages. There are so many challenges, like sustainable conservation and management of natural resources or cultural resources, minimizing resource pollution by tourism, the production of waste, reducing the seasonality of demand, addressing the environmental impact of transportation linked to tourism, ensuring that tourists as well as the local communities are offered a safe and secure environment. And there's so many more. So the simplest roadmap, which I have tried to do, and I'm still trying, is composed of 8 steps. The first step is to take a holistic approach. So whenever we're starting on something, we cannot anymore think of it only by ourselves, but we need to be thinking with a multiple group of people when initiating any process. The second is to plan for a long term. In sustainability, I've learned nothing is short term. Everything is long term. So we need to be patient with time. And we need to achieve an appropriate pace and rhythm of the development, because the destination defines what you can and what you cannot do. And you should involve all stakeholders, that's already what I have tried to explain, and to use the best available knowledge, like Arancha's examples and the others we have seen before. There is so much to learn from other destinations, which we can internalize and apply to our own, which will be totally different in the end, but they are such a big source of inspiration. And of course, to measure and reflect impacts on costs, because sustainability is not cheap. So everything comes up with a price, and we need to measure what we're really doing. And to set and respect the limits where appropriate. We need to find the limits and be really strict with that. And the last one is to undertake continuous monitoring, because there is so much room for improvement and there is so much to do. And before I leave you, I want to finalize my last sentence with what Queen Elizabeth says in 2021 about sustainability, and she quoted, "It's worth remembering that it's the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change." Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you very much, Leyla. This was great. Thank you for bringing up the challenges and some ideas and some maybe solutions to that. And I really appreciate the underlining the circle. This is a circle. We all want to be in the nature. We all want to connect with the culture. But when we do that, especially when we do that as the travel professionals, tour operators, with our guests, how can we do it without disturbing them and leaving positive marks? Thank you very much. So I would like to continue with Ms. Anula Galevska. She is the co-founder and the managing director of Travindy. Anula is a tour entrepreneur and a sustainability consultant expert.
Hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here. The last conference GCC was for me in 2016 or something in Korea, so good to be back. Thank you for the invitation. And this is, I call my presentation Sustainable Experiences, Doing Things That Matter, and you'll understand in a moment what is it going to be about. Once I was a tour operator, activity provider in Gran Canaria. And as a sustainability consultant, I wanted to do everything, really tick all the boxes, being green and, engage local population. And we came up with an idea to engage a local lady who was from a poor family, and she was making her own textile. And we thought it's going to be such a great idea. We're going to invite customers to see her. They will buy her products. Amazing, right? So we are ticking all the boxes. We've worked with her for several weeks or even months to make sure that she knows how to work with clients, that she knows how to respond to the needs. She never worked in tourism, that she can price her products in a way that would be, suitable for our customers. And then we started running the tours. And the feedback from the customers were great. Unfortunately, the tour itself was not that sellable or popular. And what we learned at the end is that although the concept was great, but unfortunately, she lost more money than she earned with this experience. So from the customer perspective, it was good. But for her, it was actually a really bad experience because she lost a lot of time and effort in this. That's why I want to bring us to start thinking more critically about what we are doing. And there's a lot of buzz going on about regenerative tourism and creating really unique experiences and adding more impact. And it all sounds great, but sometimes not everything is as great as it seems to be. And there are many things that we do when we create new products. It can be going off the beaten path, visiting vulnerable communities, doing donations to different charities, visiting really traditional rural areas and communities, offering volunteering, engaging NGOs, carbon offsetting. And on one hand, all these ideas are really great, but sometimes they come with a great cost. So it's always important for us to see the balance and to check, first of all, if we are not doing more harm than we are doing good. Although all these things tick the boxes for sustainable experiences and customer expectations. The other thing I want to bring up is that we should think about what things matter. In sustainable tourism, what I observe is that we sometimes forget about materiality analysis. When we look at GRI methodology of sustainability reporting, the first step is always to understand what are our key risks and our key impacts. With sustainable tourism, I sometimes have an impression that we go through all the criteria one by one, not really thinking where our impact is or where the risk is coming from. So within even GSTC criteria, certification bodies, we just go through the list, not thinking. So my idea or hope would be that we really consider whether, like, if we're going to the coastal destination where the key issue is plastic, that we proactively try to solve this issue. When we are going to the area when the poverty is a problem, then we do this. And also on a business level, I was once talking to a tour operator from Greece, and they do mainly walking tours. They do use some transport. And the girl was really excited about the idea of having their carbon neutrality and carbon offsetting. And everything that she wanted to do around sustainability focused on carbon offsetting. And I told to her, but this is not where your key impact is, right? So there are different things that you can do. But no, climate is so important. Yes, it is, but we need to understand for whom what should be the priority, right? And so thinking what actually matters in the communities that we operate in. Also, when we come to, there's more discussion going on about the measurement. And again, we sometimes confuse activities and how we do things with the actual impact. So I don't have time to go through the concept of what is the difference between inputs, outputs, outcomes, and impact, right? But basically, when you start measuring things, start thinking what is the difference, and don't confuse the amount of money you're putting into a destination or as a donations with the actual impact that you're creating. And here comes the concept of effective altruism. So whether the actual dollar that we spend creates the impact that we are expecting. So again, think of the activities that you are doing, whether they actually create positive impact that you're expecting. And the last few slides I have is about communication. And Arantxa already showed amazing things, how they communicate sustainable products and tours to the customers. And I can only second that, so we'll give you a few more examples. I believe that first of all, as a tourism and activities sector, we should learn more from hotels. I don't know if you've heard about Travelist, and they brought together 30 marketplaces. Booking.com is one of them, and they are listing things that matter to the customers and kind of ingredients of a sustainable hotel. We don't have such a transparent system yet for tourism activities, and I think it would be great to bring it up and work on together. So also marketplaces and different platforms and tour operators would use the same type of a language to communicate sustainability in the tourism experiences. Another point is to communicate the sustainability part in the moment where customer actually makes the choice of purchasing it. So for Booking.com, it's a filter, sustainable travel badge. Here I also brought up the example of EXO, really amazing, super sustainable tour company that from their website they communicate very well the type of impact the customer has. You cannot really see here, but sometimes they show which experiences are more environmentally friendly, which have the culture impact, the community impact, and so on. What we did when I was working with Urban Adventures and as a part of Intrepid, so it was before COVID, we also had product pages which explained very well what is the local impact of every tour. So we were trying to explain why the customer should go for this tour and what kind of positive things will happen just thanks to the fact that they are going there. And the last example from Kind Traveler, which is a marketplace for hotels, and they do include donations. So donations, I'm not a big fan of donations, but if spent well and communicated well, they can be a great tool. So in their case, they specifically say how the money is going to be spent. So if you decide to go for donations, think also about how you're going to report how the money is being spent, so that your visitors, your guests can actually trust you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anula. Thank you for amazing examples, and are we really doing good? And thank you for bringing up this discussion. So I believe by now you all have the Slido app or the web site, and I would like to ask you to be prepared with your questions to our dear panelists. But in the meantime, I would like to start an open discussion before we go with the questions, covering some topics to maybe focus the conversation here. So as a tour guide, I traveled to the mountain villages, and I had my guests stay with the local villagers, and this was an amazing experience. We all enjoyed it, and at the end, the villager, the family, they loved it. They had the local pride in it, and of course, out of renowned Turkish hospitality, we thought they are really happy with that. But at the end of the day, I was hearing we are disturbing their chickens. The goats are not going out on their regular time schedule. They are missing their schedules of wandering around freely when the guests are there. So it is quite important how we communicate with locals. So I would like to bring up the question and maybe start with you, Aransha. How do you engage with local communities and incorporate their perspectives and needs into your travel experiences?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, every destination and every community is different, so we don't have one solution that fits all. That's a reality we have in tourism. So it depends on where we are thinking of or talking about. We can engage the local community by participating actively in the local tourism associations and organizations that are in many destinations created and open for operators and anyone to participate in the debates. And then when we talk about smaller communities, sometimes I think what we do, we have local presence of nearly all of our destinations, so we do have local teams which actually belong to the community. They are part of the community, and they are connected with the community and with the suppliers and the people that we work with. So that's another initial way for us to enter into the ask the opinion and enter into the discussion with the community. And when we were at lunch, I was sharing an example that I learned yesterday, not the day before. Yesterday, we were auditing one of our excursions here, and one of my colleagues, my operational manager here, he was explaining to me one example that when we go and check, our colleagues check every single excursion, so they go and visit everything, and they do the whole experience themselves. And when he was checking one excursion that takes place here in Turkey, visiting a village up in the mountain, they were talking to the local restaurant we were going to use, and they offered a menu. They were testing the menu, and they put in the menu, they wanted to be very sophisticated and not to share some nice delicatessen with the clients, and they offered fish. So my colleague, who is local, and he knows that up there, fish is not actually the main dish or the local specific traditional dish. He said, "Can I talk to the cook?" I said, "Okay, the food is delicious, the dishes were perfect, but how many times do you cook fish at home?" And she said, "Well, maybe once a month." Why? Because we don't have fish up in the mountain. We have other things, but we don't have regular fish. And he said, "Oh, and what do you cook at home or regularly for the clients, which are not our clients, not tourists?" And she explained some dishes which were very local, very specific, with some grains and some stuff. And he said, "Can we do a trial? Do you mind if you cook this for next week when we bring the clients to you?" And they were very, 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 very nervous. They said, "They don't know. I'm not going to like it. This is not a very well-known a dish. No, what clients are not going to like it. This is not going to help. So said, okay, what do we do a trial? So they changed the menu. They put the food, which was actually typical local, and that she was expert in cooking. And the following week, my colleague was working, and he received a call from the owner of the restaurant with a video call showing him how the clients were going back and back to get more food because they found it delicious and they were super excited and they had never tried that type of dish before in their lives. So in the end, this is an example of how we try to engage and work
Very
with
good
them.
example indeed. Actually, instead of forcing them to cook what you prefer, and having their own local experience into the visitors' experience is really worth it. I would kind of like, we have plenty of questions, so maybe I will just add one more question to you while we are with
Okay.
you. So, what led TUI to create its own internal eco label, the Green and Fair label, as opposed adopting something external? So, what benefits are you seeing?
Okay, um, you know that TUI is a little bit big, so we cover many areas. So we want to be consistent in the approach on how we communicate our clients on sustainability. So we've been working on sustainability for many, many, many years, but of course, in our offerings, we offer hotel experiences with aviation, so plane tickets, we offer cruises, we offer destination services and experiences. So when we have decided that we want to again to have this unified approach, so that the client, when he enters into our websites or any of our communication channels, they can identify the sustainable options with the same single label everywhere. So there, as you know, there are not the same labels for accommodation than maybe are for aviation or for other parts of the business. So it would be very complicated to try to identify with a large number of different icons in the web. That's confusing. And one thing we understand and we have realized from asking to our clients is that they don't like to be confused. They like clarity and simplicity. So we tell them what it is, we identify one label, and then when they click in there, they see what it means, and we put everything under the same, under the same label. That's the idea, to unify and be more clear and simple to the client.
To make it easier.
Make it easier
That's a
for
great way. Leila, I'd like to ask you if you would like to comment on how you engage with the local communities.
Well, good question. It's hard, but it's not impossible. I think communication, collaboration, and cooperation. And Anula was just mentioning in her speech about how we should learn from the hotel side as the tour operators. And I see in the presence of our audience, there is a very good example from Kuşadası Pine Bay Holiday Resort. They're a massive, big resort with I don't know what capacity, but it's a big capacity. But I personally learned a lot from their experience, because even the fact that they are doing mass tourism, it is still possible to deliver the green message to the guests, uh, even at a very, very higher level. And that's something we should look around and learn from what we have around us. And secondly, I think in the local side, we always think of the sustainability as something very collective, like companies or NGOs or governments. But I think sustainability at one stage will be very individual, because we will all be affected by it or from it in a prosperous way or in a very bad way. So we have to be the ambassadors of this topic and make sure that every individual in her own within self has to put sustainability in somewhere on the plate. And I think there should be a moment where you like cut from past and continue with the different state of mind. I think it's all about the state of mind.
So actually, we have a question here, which I think adds to our conversation. Maybe if you'd like to continue with this question, Leila.
What's the
How do we
question?
guarantee to design an experience that serve the local communities by promoting and saving their lifestyles, not change it by time? to serve tourists?
There's no guarantee, but we can try, and we do try. There's no guarantee, but I think the question within which we all want to ask is what's in it for me? And the real question, the essence is what's in it for me? If there's something in it for the local, and I'm not talking about only the dollar side, I'm talking about the pride, being the self as it is, and being a local representing himself or herself in the very best way, that's something in it for that person or the local. And for the visitor side, I think the psychology derives in a different way now. The tourists, the guests coming to a destination where they see a different mode of sustainability think that this destination respects themselves first, and that they will respect the guest more secondary. So that's a chicken and egg thing, but I think it's not never guaranteed, but there's a lot of room for improvement, and I think we're all going in the right way with changing the state of mind.
I totally agree. Actually, we have started, and I think everyone will put more on top of it. Anula, I have a question for you first, and we can maybe add others. Can you give examples of consulting practices for sustainable bed bags?
What is it?
I am hoping. So,
Uh,
do you see the question?
yeah, I see, but my English is not good enough.
Do we have the person who has the question here?
Can
I
you
Would
give
you like to
examples
maybe
of
incorporate in that?
consulting practices for
Mikrofon
sustainable
alabilir miyiz?
bed baths?
He's going to ask the question. OTAs.
OTAs.
Sustainable bed banks. So any consulting practices for those OTAs?
You mean how marketplaces can promote more sustainability? I mean, I think right now everyone can learn from what has been done by Travelist and the group of marketplaces, including Booking.com and Expedia and so on. So I think that there is, as far as I know, a separate session tomorrow by Booking about their program. So definitely they are, they have amazing experience on that. I guess what I would say is like to use the criteria that we have, and it's for any type of a marketplace. So use the unified criteria, promote the very accepted, internationally approved certifications, and be proactive in terms of sharing the content and bringing in the algorithm upper those businesses that are more sustainable. But it also, whenever it comes to the sales and communications, the sales team and the marketing team have to be on board with what sustainability is and like the products, because TUI can do a lot of great stuff in their office, but as long as their sales team, they don't understand the product, I'm assuming, then not much would happen, right? So to sell more sustainable experiences, we also need to make sure that the people who are in the front office, the reception desk who are selling the tours, or sales agents, they actually know what they are selling. So
Thank you so much. Besides my question, we have plenty of here, and I think our guests are curious about how does TUI conduct, does TUI conduct assessment, or do you contract an accredited GSDC certifying body? And is it a desktop assessment or an assessment in the destination?
A lot of questions in one.
I know.
Okay. Well, we conduct we conduct desktop assessments to start with, and our suppliers. Oh, sorry. Our suppliers need to fill in this assessment, but they need to provide evidence. And the system that is created in a transparent way, and it's been verified again and certified by Control Union, so that we can prove that the system works properly. That's one way of what we do things. But then, of course, we conduct audits, and we bring our auditors randomly to the different destinations to physically see the experiences and make sure that the experiences that they are visiting match with the criteria and all the assessments that we have put in the system. So we do both, so to say, we do both. And then of course we encourage our suppliers. The idea of this program is to start explaining them that sustainability is achievable for them. So when the moment they start engaging with us and the practices and fulfilling and understanding and learning and getting high credits, no? The high number in the system, then we encourage them to go ahead and get certified. And for them, it's much easier to do it once that the process has started than going it from zero. They already have 70% of the process done. They just need them to conduct. So this is one of the other questions we ask in our assessments. Have you been certified? Are you interested? And if they are, of course, they need to fulfill some other questions, but the assessment gets reduced because we definitely take the tick on the box for the certification.
Maybe we can continue with you with another question. We have too many questions coming up. How do you deal with the local supplier, directly or through the local DMC? And do they get paid directly?
Okay, we contact. I mean, our relationship with the local suppliers is done through local teams, so it's directly. We have a local. Well, we call it local DMCs, but they are our own DMCs, except in a couple of countries where we have joint ventures. But yeah, it's our teams in destinations and our teams in head offices that deal directly with the suppliers. We pay them, of course, but we need to fulfill also legislation and okay, we have the normal payment procedures, which are the regular procedures. We don't have differences, so normal.
Well, I would like to also maybe, we have plenty of questions, but I think some of them can be grouped as maybe our next topic, and I'd like to start with you. How do you address the challenges of balancing the desire for authentic cultural experiences with the need to minimize the impact of tourism on local cultures? How do you balance the desire and the impact?
I think this question is quite similar to
Yes, that's why I wanted
managing
to group them.
Keeping the authenticity alive. So on one hand, I guess when on a destination level or as like a tour company and we want to really invite people to someone's homes, it's really important to have kind of a rotation system. So as long as hosting guests is for a family or a community, like a very unique moment, then it's fine. But when it comes to like, when they start doing it as like fast food, like for instance, CBT communities, sometimes when they have already many customers coming, then the human connection is lost. So probably having some carrying capacity on the community and having some limitations, even if we're working like with one family, to have a few that we can rotate. But on the other hand, I have to say that it's always very, Instagrammable to go to a poor community with no electricity and be happy that they are this way and we are like experiencing it in an authentic way. So once we had the tour for several years in a rural area, and we were visiting a poor family, but thanks to tourism, this family managed to earn money and they built a new house. And then we kept bringing people there, and then the guests said, no, we don't want to go to this family. They have such a nice house and we want to see the authentic experience. This is authentic experience. This is how they live. So there is, authenticity sometimes is perceived as something traditional only. And authenticity actually, we should accept the change that we want. Everyone wants to have Wi-Fi. We all want to live in good conditions. And this is also authenticity. So maybe also how we communicate what authentic means in different areas, especially when people are coming to developing countries, so to say. They have some sort of expectations of authenticity, which not always is the true. And I would say that we should put more effort on promoting the modern culture, handicrafts, what's going on right now, not only sticking to the ages ago. So this way the authenticity will be a little more flexible.
Thank you. That's very good. Would you like to comment on
I
that?
just said very interesting.
Okay, yes, I agree. Leila, actually, I would like to ask you the similar question. If you
Sure.
would like to comment
Sure.
on
I
that.
think COVID was the break-even point, because I think before COVID, anything about sustainability was very aspirational, was very abstract, was very out of the real life. But in the COVID period, I think resilience and sustainability were all what we needed, not only from the tourism side, from any side. So I think now there's a window for rethinking for us and for those who are in the business, to find a new way of how we will design the future. We will still have mass tourism, we will still have the authentic experience, but I think now the challenge is more that all destinations now need more tourism. So but there's also the problem at the supply chain. So the question is totally reversed now. So people do need tourists. All the hotels, all the boutique hotels up to big hotels, they all want tourists, but we can still do it in a different way, in a better way, in a rethought way. Because if we continue with the pre-COVID methods, then sustainability, which is no longer aspirational, but is solid, is within our hands, will not be the denominating factor. So I think there is really room for rethinking.
So let me follow up with one of the questions to you, Leila, from a different angle.
Yeah.
How can spreading knowledge about sustainability be included in experiences to leave guests with more knowledge and understanding of sustainability?
Exact. That's a great question. I think as a tour operator, this is our message, this is our duty, and this is what we thrive for. And the main key feature here are the guides and the local teams that are in touch with the guests on on a one-to-one basis. So all the guides, especially let me talk only for Turkey, but I'm sure it's for other destinations the same. The guides no longer talk about history or the prehistoric development, but they talk about today, looking back into the past with a cultural aspect and with a natural cautiousness. So the guides also evolved in time, because this is what is expected and what should be the message. So the guest coming to any destination in Turkey, I can say definitely goes back with an experience and with something that he has or she has in her mind, apart from the history, apart from the informative part, but more of an experience. And this is where the sustainability is actually integrated in.
Thank you for mentioning that. Actually, travel is not only like ticking the box anymore. It's a transformative and learning experience.
Exactly.
So that's what we are all talking about. I actually would like to resume by discussing how the sustainability efforts evolve in next decade and what are your plans. But in the meantime, I would like to combine this question with some of these questions about measurement. How do we measure the effects? For example, I have one for you, Aransha. It is like, do you have any channels, surveys for clients to provide feedback on the sustainability level of the experiences?
Absolutely.
So do we get the feedback and do we measure our efforts? And what can we do next? So let's combine them all.
Yes, so answering that question, yes, we do have customer satisfaction service for our clients. So when they go in one of our experiences, we ask them for feedback. We include sustainability questions in there. Actually, out of the audits that we were conducting this week, we came out with the auditor spotted that we had a couple of questions missing in one type of questionnaire, which was great. That's why audits are for, to see what you're doing and how you improve. So now we need to include some more questions in a couple of questionnaires we have. But yeah, we measure that because that's essential for us. That's the only way we have to understand if what we are selling or what the experiences we are offering actually have the level of not only quality but satisfaction for the client. So that's a very essential key thing for us. So we do measure as much as we can, yes.
So what do you
For
see
the
in
future,
the future?
yeah, we want to extend this into how can I say, we would like to have in the future that all experiences have gone through the process.
You already have 1,500?
we would like to. So the idea is that, yeah, we want to keep expanding and extending this, and especially for me, my key aspiration with this program, I've been working for TUI and destinations for 22 years now, and managing sustainability for over 12. And my key aim is this communication part, this engagement with suppliers. So for me, the goal would be that more and more suppliers understand that they can jump into the bus with us and get certified if they want. It's not so expensive. Our program is for free, but then just need to get the final certification, which is not so complicated, and see more and more of those smaller, medium, and big suppliers, but getting certified and having a portfolio that we don't need to be assessing them. They just need to come to us and say, okay, choose me, work with me, because I'm certified. I'm working towards the same goal as you are working. So that.
Thank you. Anula, I would like to ask you this coming question to you. How can we integrate the contradictions and problematic issues of tourism in a destination in a way that it makes the experience enjoyable and transformative? That's a challenging question.
That's a very challenging question.
So if I understand that the contradictions and problematic issues of tourism in a destination is like the overcrowding, and probably that's how I understand. And how can you make the experience enjoyable and transformative?
I mean, if we are trying to address some of the existing issues like over-tourism, right? So the obvious way would be to work more on the balancing seasonality, peak times, and optimizing our routes, adding something more of the beaten path. So for instance, I don't know, like having a visit to the top attraction but for a very short time, and then bringing the most of the activity actually having outside of the peak area. So maybe this way, when we go to the destinations where people, I don't know, expect to ride elephants only, and we don't want to do this, then it needs to take time through marketing. So basically, I think that a lot of things can be done through marketing, and if we stop promoting the activities that do harm, at least it will not create more demand for this. So I'm not sure. It's a very tough question. So happy to have a coffee afterwards and discuss.
Okay, I have another question. Maybe Leyla, if you would like to step into this. There are so many questions coming, and maybe there will be lots of opportunities for these ladies later on. But let me ask one more. I think we have time for one more. Do you incentivize, reward suppliers in any way to encourage more sustainable processes in their experiences? If so, how?
Definitely, and with great pleasure, because a supplier who has done the effort to move forward from an abstract concept to a real measurable criteria has already done so much for our benefit that it is definitely worth rewarding, and it is definitely the cycle we follow with great support and great excitement. Yes.
And would you like to maybe comment more about your future plans?
Yes, I
What do
see
you
a lot
think?
of
How do you see
tensions.
the
I see
future?
a lot of tensions in coming. Actually, I'm going to be the pessimist side, and maybe there will be the optimist side. I see there will be more tensions from the international to national uh, concept of sustainability. So the international understanding and the national understanding do not always match, and there is no regional sustainability, which I think is a big lack, because regionally we have so much to share. Let's take an example of Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, Egypt, Bulgaria. We have so much in common, which would imply to us as a destination, but nothing as such exists. There is the international and then there's the national. So I see there's going to be a lot of tension on that side. I also see there might be tensions from the national to the local level, because I see sustainability from bottom to top. I don't see it from top to bottom, because bottom to top is real, genuine, and is sweated sustainability. The other one is a big shelf which gives you the bigger picture, but then you on the field are the one to really apply it or not. So I think it's a bottom to up internalized process where there will be still the tension between the national demands and the local possibilities. So this is what I think might be. And I think there will be more room for geotourism. Geotourism including ecotourism with culture. So geo meaning everything that the geography offers to us will be what we might be looking forward for. So ecotourism will be probably overpassed by geotourism, because there is so much room for it to grow, and I think this is where we should all be looking at.
Thank you for that. And actually, we have plenty of sites for geotourism in Turkey,
Exactly.
like Dalyan, where you can enjoy the ancient sites with the caretta turtles and the local food. So that's, I guess, what
A
you
great
mean by
example is
geotourism.
from Mexico, from Puerto Cortes, in Sea of Cortez, Puerto Penasco, where they really are on top of it. It's a great destination just to look for the web.
And maybe some final words, Anula, from you. What do you see in the future?
I mean, I think that the obvious trend that is coming up is the impact measurement and reporting. Um, Another thing, I guess, is like we have quite good and advanced conversations in this room, but we need to remember that the reality is quite different in many countries, and so it would be great if all the countries out there really stand up to the same level as the discussions we have at this conference. So we don't need to create much more of the new things, at least like that they do what others already did. And my personal hope for the future is that single-use plastics will become so lame that we would never see any toothbrushes in the hotel rooms ever again. So.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the participation, and I would strongly recommend to find these ladies later on with all these questions that you have, and I'm sure they have plenty of experience and stories to share with you. And thank you for joining us this afternoon, and thank you all of you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
have a nice time in Antalya.
The female power. Huh?
Bir fotoğraf alsın.